it looks like we are getting a number of folks on board. So I think we're going to slowly start easing into it and give everyone a couple more seconds to log in. But we want to be very cautious of everybody's time today and not take too much. So just to reiterate one more time for the folks that just joined, this is the Stanford University training call for the Stanford Fund Reunion campaign. This is our volunteer training call where we're going to talk about how to talk to your classmates today as a volunteer about supporting the Stanford Fund. We are recording this, and so your class giving officers, your CGOs, will be able to distribute it afterwards. So I think without further ado, it looks like we've got a nice large group on the line. I think we'll get started. So let me introduce myself. My name is Allie Page, and I manage our team of class giving officers. I've worked on the 10th reunion campaign, the 40th, and the 50th reunion campaign.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donnie McCluskey, and I currently manage the 10th reunion campaign, Go Class of 07. Today, Allie and I are going to role-play a potential conversation you as a committee member can have with the classmate in regard to your class campaign.
So before we begin, we first just, on behalf of all the class giving officers and on behalf of TSF, we want to say thank you to all of you for your time, your support, and your efforts on behalf of your alma mater. Hopefully you realize that these campaigns would not be close to as impactful without you and all of your work. So we're so grateful to have you all as volunteers. With that in mind, we also want you to remember that as a volunteer and as the work you start doing in your outreach to classmates, keep in mind that you're talking to your classmates on behalf of the university. You're helping build the case as to why one should consider supporting Stanford. What we hope is that you, as a volunteer and as a supporter of Stanford, can help your classmates to seriously consider what a meaningful commitment would be to them in honor of their reunion.
Before we begin, please allow me to reinforce that the information we share with you regarding your classmates is highly confidential and to be treated with great respect and sensitivity.
Now, we also understand that we can't predict exactly how each conversation is going to go. What we're hoping is that perhaps by listening to Donnie and I open up a conversation, bring the gift into discussion, and close with talk of next steps, that will be able to help you as you start to think about your own conversations.
During this conversation, Allie is going to be a campaign committee volunteer, and I am her classmate.
Thinking about that, before calling Donnie as the campaign committee member, I'm going to be reading over the briefings that I have on Donnie, looking at the information I know about him, and I'll most likely be checking in with my class giving officer, or CGO, we'll say is Hillary for this one, and asking her any questions I might have before the call. And then I'm going to be sending Donnie an email to set up a time for the two of us to talk rather than just calling him out of the blue, so that I know he'll be available and he'll know that I'm calling for us to talk and catch up for a little while. So let's begin the conversation. Oh, excuse me, I should give you a little bit of background information on Donnie. So for this conversation, Donnie's going to be my classmate who traveled abroad with me in an overseas program to Italy. We're in our 30th reunion campaign, and at our 25th, I know he was listed at the $10,000 level on the honor roll, and he was bolded for TSF. So let's begin our conversation. Let's say the phone rings and Donnie answers.
Hello, this is Donnie.
Donnie, hi. It's Allie Page calling. How's it going?
Allie, it's great to hear from you. How are things in SF? Oh, wait. Is it time to send my check-in?
Oh, you know, it's gorgeous and expensive up here, and that's very funny. Yes, I am on the campaign committee, and yes, we will talk about your gift, but you know what? I really just signed up and picked your name because it's been too long since we caught up. So let's get to the gift later, and now just tell me how things are going back east.
They're great. Barb and I are finally getting a chance to relax now that the kids are out of the house. And work's going well. Things are plugging on.
Okay, we're going to pause here. So this is the part of the conversation that's going to focus on catching up and personal stories. This is a great time for you to enjoy catching up with your classmates, to really reconnect with them. And it's also a time for you to listen to your classmate and consider the suggested ask that you have in mind. From what I've probably heard thus far from Donnie, he's most likely had a, quote, normal last 5 years, and I'm feeling that the planned ask, which we're thinking would be a President's Fund ask of $50,000 over 5 years, is still on target. So now I'm going to pivot the conversation towards the ask and the gift from our personal catch-up. Wow, what a year, Donnie. You really have kept busy since our 25th. With the kids out of the house now, do you think you're going to be making it back to campus for reunion this fall?
We're hoping. We hope to get there and spend a little part of the week in Napa and then get it down to Palo Alto for the reunion just in time.
Napa, huh? Well, I may have to grab Derek and tag along. That sounds like a nice plan to me. Ease into the weekend with some vacation first. I'm glad you're planning to come back, though. I can't remember. Were you able to make it to our 25th? I know I've seen your name on the honor roll, but I don't remember catching up on campus at all.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it, but I heard it was a great time. Life gets busy. We did make a gift for our 25th, and we're happy to do so again. I think it was to the Stanford Fund.
Yes, you are correct. It was the Stanford Fund, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. But first, I also want to know, did you make your gift all at one time? I saw you were at the $10,000 level. And was that a one-time $10,000 gift?
Yeah, considering that the 25th was a big deal, we thought that $10K would be a nice gift then. It felt good. Then I think that Barb and I have been giving around $2,000 a year since.
That's fantastic, and that's an incredible gift. So first, I just need to say thank you. I mean, I'm sure Stanford did too, but that's a great gift. And secondly, though, and this is part of the reason I'd asked, did you know that during reunion years and during our campaigns, you can be recognized for pledges over 5 years, not just your gift during that 1 year?
Oh, that makes sense. I think I may have heard something about that. Can you explain that a bit more and explain how that works?
Sure thing. I'd be happy to. So from my understanding, during a reunion campaign, Stanford works to recognize not only your gift that year, but also your commitment to the habit of giving. Therefore, if you're an annual donor, as you and your wife are, you could be recognized on the honor roll for your full 5-year commitment, and the class campaign would receive that much towards our total goals.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. What if something changes in our situation?
That's a really good question, and I can double-check this with our CGO, Hillary, but from what I've been told, pledges are not binding in any way. So if your situation changes, you just call Stanford and tell them you need to adjust or change your pledge. You can pay it off over 5 years. You can pay it off all in one bid if it makes sense. Whatever you need to do to adjust it, it's up to you.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way to continue supporting Stanford and making a difference in our class campaign. So that's why I've started trying to do 5-year pledges myself. But tell me, Donnie, I mean, I know you made the gift, the one-time gift of $10,000 or $25,000. And I have to ask, though, with the kids out of the house and things slowing down a bit, do you think you and Barb would consider a 5-year pledge, perhaps, maybe $50,000 over 5 years? So that would mean stretching to $10,000 again, but continuing it annually.
That sounds like something we'd consider.
Well, that would be great. I mean, to be perfectly honest, that's what Derek and I are doing for this campaign. I'm not sure if you know, but $10,000 puts you at what we call the President's Fund level as well. With all of the incredible things the Stanford Fund has done, we wanted to commit to a really strong level this year.
Oh, yeah. I think we were invited to the President's Fund event for last reunion, but couldn't make it.
Oh, it's too bad. They're great events, and they do have them annually, so if you do stretch to that level, you will be included in that invitation this year. And Derek and I were able to go to the one this past November, and it was a great event. It was somewhat of an intimate Q&A with President Tessier Levine. It was a great way to hear him speak right as he was stepping into office. So the events are really well done. It's a great way to feel engaged with the university.
That sounds like something we would enjoy.
Okay, Donnie and I are going to pause here for a moment. Here's the point in the conversation where I've now talked with him about his gifts, and I think it's a great time for us to pivot to closing the conversation and making sure we outline clear next steps. Well, I'm really glad to hear it, Donnie. So how about this? Why don't I put you in touch with our CGO, Hillary? She really can share more details about TSF and the areas it helps. But after you two chat, if you do want to talk with me again, I'm more than happy to have a deeper conversation about how Derek and I decided to stretch this year and commit to a 5-year pledge and what our thought process was. What do you think about that?
Sounds good. I'd like to talk to Hillary about the gift, and I think I've probably seen an email or two from her already.
Yes, my guess is you probably have, and you should respond to those. But to make things simple, why don't you just wait for an email from me connecting the two of you? And then why don't I just give you a call in 2 weeks to check in? That's going to give you time to talk to Hillary, and then also you and Barb can talk about what's meaningful to the two of you, and maybe you and I can circle back and answer any questions you've got.
Sounds great. We'll plan on that and look forward to catching up more either on the phone or back at reunion. We're going to pause here. Obviously, that conversation went very well. I'm a great classmate. But sometimes the conversation can go a bit differently. Let's go back to Allie's ask and explore some more examples.
Tell me, Donnie, I know you made that one-time stretch gift of $10,000 at our 25th. However, now that the kids are out of the house and things are slowing down a bit, I have to ask, do you think you and Barb would consider making a 5-year pledge, potentially stretching to $10,000 a year for 5 years in a row at a $50,000 pledge?
Well, that's something we might consider. But I was wondering, how much does Stanford really need our money? We're pretty involved with our local community, and don't get me wrong, I loved my Stanford experience, but I'm just trying to see the value in my gift at such a large university.
You know, it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked, and I promise you're not the first person to ask it. So first, let me just say that it's great to hear that you and your wife are so engaged in your community. You know, hopefully you can tell from my volunteering on this committee how passionate I am about philanthropy in general. And so I always think it's wonderful to learn about others who share this passion too. But I want to be very clear. Secondly, I'm not here to ask you to stop supporting your local community. That's fantastic, and Stanford firmly believes that you should continue to be as philanthropic as possible anywhere that's important to you. All we're asking is that hopefully you'll include Stanford in your portfolio of philanthropy this year. You know, hopefully, as you said, your experience on the farm has affected who you are today, what you've done in your life, and really had a positive impact on you. And we just would hope that you'd feel excited to help provide funding for students today to continue having those opportunities and have that same feeling that you had about your experience on the farm. Now, with a university as massive as Stanford, I know it can be difficult to see how your gift can make a difference. But let me reassure you, from what I've learned, every gift does matter. I recently learned that gifts of $5,000 or less made up more than $9 million towards the Stanford Fund last year. And also, of the 30,000 plus donors who did make a gift to TSF last year, 78% of those gifts were $500 or less. So hopefully you can see that what we're supporting and what we're doing has a very strong collective impact on the students and on the university.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea gifts of that level added up to such a large amount. It's nice to know that, and it's nice to know that Stanford knows that. It makes me feel like my gifts are noticed. All right, we're going to stop here again. Another objection you might hear is a simple no. Here are some thoughts on how to respond.
Okay, so tell me, Donnie, I know you made that one-time stretch gift of $10,000 or 25th, but with the kids out of the house and things slowing down a bit, do you think you and Barb would consider a 5-year stretch pledge, perhaps $10,000 a year for 5 years?
I don't think we could do that.
I understand, and I appreciate you being honest with me, and I don't want you giving more than you're comfortable with. But as you have been supporting Stanford each year, would you consider a 5-year pledge of some sort? You know, perhaps $25,000 over 5 years?
Yeah, that sounds a bit more in our range. We can consider that.
Well, I appreciate the consideration, and I know Stanford does too. Why don't you talk to Barb about what works for both of you? In the meantime, can I put you in touch with our CGO, Hillary, and she can answer any questions you might have, and she might also be able to suggest some options that work for you and for Barb?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, we're going to stop here and sort of reflect for a minute. Hopefully those conversations were useful and provided a general framework on how to approach, engage in, and close a gift during a conversation. As we said at the beginning, we realize that each conversation you have with a classmate will be different, but hopefully these were just some good talking points on how to maneuver the conversation based on what your classmate says. Before we finish up today, we do want to take the last couple of minutes of the call and answer a couple of the questions that were sent to us from volunteers. So I'm going to take the first one, which was, how do I close a gift? This is a great question, and we're so glad you asked it, because the hard part is the ask, we know that, but then what do you do after that? What we found is that when closing a gift conversation, it's most effective to ask 2 questions of the donor and be very clear in the next step. So you're welcome to say to your donor, would you like for me to send a giving link? And 2, would you like for me to connect you with our CGO, and he or she can provide more detailed information and answer any questions you may have. Usually the donor will let you know, donor being your classmate, will let you know what his or her preferences are, and then your action items are clear. We also caution you never to take credit card information over the phone, which is why we would say we'd rather you direct your classmates to the giving link if they'd like to make their gift immediately. We always also think it's helpful if you follow up with your CGO after the call, even if your classmate has just requested a giving link. That way it helps us as a team be on the lookout for your classmate's gift and be able to make sure that everything does close up properly, and we can let you know if it doesn't, and then you can follow up at a later date.
Okay. Our second and third questions are, if I'm reaching out to two different classmates, one who may be able to give $5,000 and another who's able to give $50,000, how should those gift conversations be different? And our third question is, and after getting in touch with my classmate and having an initial conversation, how do I know if and when, if it's time to consult with our class giving officer? We're going to lump those up into one answer for you guys. Preparation for the call is going to be the same. Review your briefings, talk with your CGO, and talk to your peers and find the best style that you might feel is necessary for you to address your classmate and asking them for a particular gift. The difference between asking for $5,000 and $50,000 is how well and confident you feel in the ability to paint the picture of the impact of their gift. Through cultivating, building a strong relationship, and listening, you should have identified their inclination and capacity to make a gift that is meaningful to them. With partnering with your class giving officer and providing details on previous interactions, we will help you build the confidence needed to make a specific stretch ask.
What we're hoping that you were able to pull from today is, like we said, a general framework of how to enter into these conversations. But we hope all of you can walk away knowing, too, that no matter what happens in a conversation, our team is here to support you. So whenever you have any questions or concerns or something comes up, feel free to bring us into the conversation or let your classmate know that we will be following up with him or her if that's appropriate. Once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being on these committees, for helping us. You really make our job so enjoyable, and you're the ones that make these campaigns so impactful. So thank you for joining us. Like I said, we've recorded this, and we will be distributing it out for the rest of the classmates that weren't able to call in and listen today. And if you have any additional questions, I know your CGOs are willing and ready to help you as you start making these calls. So best of luck, and we hope to see all of you back on campus this fall. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.